So let's all take our seats where we're going to get started here. I'm I'm Rob DeBoe. I'm the Public Works Director for the city, and I want to thank everybody coming out tonight for this PCH master plan. Caltrans and the city has been working together trying to develop strategies on how we could improve safety on PCH, and this is one of the elements that we're working towards together to improve that safety. And we've had some meetings the last couple of months. Caltrans has been getting everyone's input on all the features and the elements that the community wants to see on PCH. Now, these next couple of episodes or these meetings, Caltrans is going to come and display or talk about these improvements and move forward with it. And so, I want to introduce Marlon, who's with their Caltrans' planning department, and to take it away for you.
Thank you, Rob. Appreciate it. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get started in just a bit here. My name is Marlon Regisford. I'm the Deputy District Director for Planning and Local Assistance at Caltrans District 7. So, as you know, we've been here to kick off this Caltrans PCH feasibility study, master plan feasibility study. And this is really the second round of our engagement efforts. The first round we've done in the past, I guess, month or two now, and we've had some great feedback in person and online, and we very much appreciate the feedback that we've received from the residents and others that travel, live, and work and play in Malibu. We know this is a very critical effort for the community and as the region as a whole. We know of the impact that this will have in the future. We know the frustration and the desire from the community to see something improved in the near term. And that's why we're here. And really, the feedback that we've received, we've been very much thankful and appreciative for the feedback that has been given to us in the first round of workshops. And really what we're going to do here tonight is talk about the feedback that we've received so far and really share the design concepts that we've been able to draft based on the feedback from the community thus far. So we're very much looking forward to the opportunity to share that with you tonight and get your feedback on the design concepts that you guys have put your thoughts into. So we have a great program for you tonight. I'm hoping that everyone can participate, share their opinions and voices about what they're seeing, about what they're hearing, and really give a candid opinion on what you think is most valuable for Malibu and PCH moving forward. That's really the goal, and we really, again, want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to give us your thoughts and your input on what's most important for PCH moving forward. So thank you again. With that, I'm going to pass it along to Ryan Snyder, our MC for tonight.
Thanks, Marlon. And thanks, everyone, for coming. Before I get into the presentation, I just want to call your attention to this survey sheet that is out at the front desk. I hope you've all picked up one of these, and also the sign-in sheet at the table out in front to make sure that we can be in contact with you later on. We are going to conduct a survey of your opinions later on, and you'll have the choice of the hard copy survey or the QR code and doing it online. It would be better if you can do it online because we will have the results tabulated and we can show you the results later on today. So that'll be advantageous. Tonight is a historical moment in the history of Malibu. We're here to talk about significant change to the Pacific Coast Highway. We are well aware at Caltrans of the safety issues out there, and it's unacceptable. Caltrans has adopted a vision of 0 fatalities on our highway system by the year 2050. And we're seriously working towards that. I want to encourage you, I invite you to think big, to think different, because we need to make some changes out there. It's unacceptable the way it is today. We need to make some changes, and your input is going to be extremely important in what those changes look like. So with that introduction, I'm going to have a slideshow here. We're going to show some slides, and sort of the middle part of this tonight is going to be having you vote on these cross sections, and I'll explain that when we get to it. We'll have you look at these. I'll go through all the cross sections first, have you look at these, have you vote, and then we'll come back. There's a couple other cross sections I'll show and have you vote again. And then we've got a few more slides to show, and then we'll open it up for questions and comments after that. Okay. Again, we want to hear from you tonight. Your input is going to help us shape the plan moving forward. We have analyzed the existing conditions, and we're at a point where we're starting to look at safety priorities and options. We want to identify projects to reduce the number and severity of crashes, and we want to plan safe travel options for bicyclists and pedestrians as well. Study area is the full length of PCH within Malibu, and we have done crash analysis. After we did a series of workshops, and then we've done some crash analysis because we want to understand what's going on out there. And we can see from this that the highest number of crash factors, improper turns. Speeding is a crash factor, and speeding is an issue across the board. For the many people we spoke with, speeding seems to be the number one thing everybody agrees upon, that we have to find a way to slow the cars down to a reasonable level out there. Other violations, failure to yield, following too close, alcohol influence is another crash factor. Something other than improper driving. As far as a primary crash type, rear end, number one, side swipe, broadside, somebody hit an object, head-on crashes, auto hitting pedestrian, overturned, and some other things as well. Looking at these crash factors, in some of the situations that we are aware of, people making U-turns in places that they shouldn't be making U-turns. Pedestrians parking on one side of the street and crossing to the other side. People pulling out of side roads and turning left across traffic. People coming to side roads and turning right where the visibility is poor. So we want to address each of these crash types, and especially the ones that are most common, by some of the things that we do to change the highway. This map kind of shows you the concentration. You see a lot of concentration out there, especially between Las Flores and all the way to the pier is where the greatest concentration is, but also some in the Cane and Doom, Heathercliff area, and quite a few down there by Bonsall and Westward Beach. So these are the areas that we understand need the most attention. We're looking at bicycle and pedestrian crashes and where those have occurred. So again, in order to make things safer, we kind of need to understand the problem to apply the right remedy. And as far as our process goes, collecting information, engagement, that's what we're doing tonight, is the community engagement and making sure that we understand what people, all the stakeholders want. The analysis is ongoing. Again, this crash analysis. And, we've spent some time out in the field looking at the highway and looking at the conditions and what we might be able to do to help to remedy some of that. We're now developing project concepts, and that's what you're going to be doing tonight. So that's going to be really important. And then we'll come back later on, November, December-ish, with a draft report. So it's a pretty compressed timeline. But, we're doing what we can, and tonight is, again, a really important milestone in how we move forward to the next step and prepare that draft and final study. Our engagement has sort of a four-pronged approach. We're doing, started off with the community charrette back in July 11th. We're doing these workshops. We have surveys online, which, by the way, this QR code takes you directly to, and an interactive website. And we've done a number of stakeholder meetings, and those have been really important as well. So here's our schedule. You can see that we're halfway through that. Tonight is our workshop, our second workshop. We're now in what we call the second round. The first round was the community charrette, and we had 2 different virtual meetings as well. September 12th, we're going to have a second virtual meeting of this same exercise. We'll be doing the same thing, especially for people who haven't had a chance to come to the workshop here. And then again, we'll come back, not sure exactly when, but probably late November, early December-ish for the last presenting the study. We have competing goals, and this is part of the challenge. We want to reduce crashes and crash severity. I mean, that's number one. That's the main driver of this exercise. We want to provide safer accommodations for bicyclists, safer accommodation for pedestrians, better and safer accommodations for people who are taking transit. And these are some of the ones we showed earlier, but throughout this stakeholder engagement, we've learned some other things that are important. We want to improve the character of PCH to better fit in with this community. It doesn't fit in well right now. It's a speedway through a community that does not mesh well with the community. So changing the character of it is one of the things we want to do. We also want to preserve and enhance emergency access. This is a challenge. This is a real challenge because, in many places in a city, we might want to do some things to change the street to make it more of a boulevard, slow cars down and all that. And in the city, emergency vehicles have another option to go. Out here, PCH is it. And, if you have a cardiac arrest, you want the ambulance to get there pretty soon. If you've got a fire, you want to get that fire, the fire people to be there before what's called flashover, is when the fire really explodes into something much larger than it could have been otherwise. And I've been out there. I mean, I recreate out here. I snorkel, I swim, I hike out here. And I've seen it on Sunday afternoons when it gets pretty congested and there's no way for the emergency vehicles to get through. So this is really important. We want to provide access to the beaches and mountains. This is also something that's really critical. And provide access to businesses. There are businesses, restaurants along here. You want to make sure that they've got access. And this is also an evacuation route. When there's a fire, major landslides, anything like that, people have to get out. So there's got to be a way for people to get through. Now, some of these things, like I said, they compete with one another. And we have to find sort of the middle ground where we have trade-offs. And what's the ideal trade-off? Now, the next thing, I want to talk about the stakeholder meetings. These are the people we've met with, the local residents. And as I go through these, I would like you to raise your hand if you are one of these. Local residents. Okay. A lot of you, most of you local residents. City staff. Okay. California Highway Patrol. Thank you. Los Angeles County Sheriff. All right, thanks for coming. County Fire Department. Anybody from the fire department make it today? Okay. Coastal Commission. Mountains Recreation and Conservancy Authority. Okay, nobody there. Malibu Pacific Palisades Chamber of Commerce. Streets for all and streets are for everyone. I don't see. Oh, okay, Damon, you made it. Okay. These are all legitimate stakeholders, and they all have different perspectives on things. The sheriffs, CHP, fire department, they want emergency access. Mountains Recreation Conservancy Authority, they want parking on the beaches, near on the highway, so people can get to the beaches and trailheads. Some people don't want parking. We need to find space for bike lanes and pedestrian access. And that is not going to be easy to take all these things. And you know, we've got limited space. This is all about budgeting space. And one of the most important things I learned in grad school was win-win negotiation. It's where we understand that each stakeholder has legitimate interests. And we acknowledge that the other stakeholders have legitimate interests. And we can solve our problem by seeking ways to solve the other stakeholders' problems. And I would like to kind of approach it that way if we can. If you can have that mindset when you are thinking about how we move to the next step, please be thinking about some of these other stakeholder interests and what they need, and hopefully find a way to get what you all need as well. So here's what we're trying to do. We've got all of these cross-sectional elements, and we're about ready to look at our exercise here. Travel lanes, turn lanes, bike lanes, bus lanes, buffers, bus stops, sidewalks, paved shoulders, unpaved shoulders. You know, parking on the mountainside, parking on the beach side. There are all these things. Landscape medians, solid medians. There are all these potential cross-sectional elements that we have to kind of figure out what's the optimal cross-section. And if you recall from the first workshop we did, we identified 5 different typologies of PCH in Malibu. And, you know, the first one was housing on both sides. And we're going to go through all these individually. Housing on the beach side, nothing on the mountain side, the central part, the webway to Cross Creek, and then no development on either side. And what we end up with could quite very well look different in each different situation. There may be situations where one cross-section is optimal, and then we kind of change the cross-section when we get to another stretch that may be more ideal for that stretch or more suited for that stretch. And I want to stress the point that there is no perfect solution. Everything is going to require trade-offs. Not everybody is going to be happy with everything we do. There's no way to satisfy all these goals and all the stakeholders' desires in every stretch of the highway. But I want to try to find the optimal, point where we can do as much of this as possible, where we can meet the goals as much as possible and the stakeholder interest as much as possible. One of the things that we've been thinking about are medians. This has come up where we replace the turn lane in some places with a median and have U-turns at up upstream somewhere where people can turn around if they need to access something on the other side. One of the things we've been looking along these lines is a mountable median, so the fire department and sheriff and CHP can still get through. Maybe a median that they can straddle. So we're looking at different options that way, and here's the median with the U-turn is a possible tool that we could use in some places. Okay, now we're going to get into the cross sections. And I'm going to go through all of them. And then once we've gone through all of them, I'm going to have you come up and look at each one of these tables that have all these cross sections in them. So that's type 1 over there, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this first type is 4 lanes, center turn lane, housing on both sides. And there are different places that have this typology, but one that's really exemplifies this is Las Flores Canyon Road to Carbon Canyon Road. Some of the cross sections, and by the way, when we did our survey and when we did the workshop last time, we asked people some of these same questions. Of all the cross-sectional elements, what do you want to preserve most? And we see here on this stretch, and it was actually pretty similar on all the stretches. Bike lanes came out number 1. Sidewalks or walking areas came out number 2. Bus stop improvements, number 3. Full or part-time bus lanes was next. Replace the center turn lane with legal U-turns at signalized intersections. Next, center medians. Parking on the beach side was later on, and then maintain the same number of travel lanes. That ranked pretty low, as did parking on the mountainside. Keep the center turn lane, ranked almost at the bottom. Dead last was, I want the highway to stay the same as it is now. That is not what we heard many people at all say that they wanted. So this means we need to find some changes. Which of these cross sections best suits that? So, and this first stretch, again, housing on both sides, Carbon Canyon to Las Flores. So this first possibility, and by the way, these aren't the only possibilities, but these are some mixes that kind of illustrate, and when you vote, you're going to tell us which of these, and you're going to rank them. Which of these are your favorite? So this one has two-way protected bike lanes on the beach side, parking on both sides. But bicycle lanes. So that means there's a physical barrier between the bike lanes and the travelway. And in a case like this, people would also probably have to use the bike lanes to walk in. And given the trade-offs, there's no center turn lane here. There's no median. Emergency access would probably have to happen in the two-way bike lanes. So, trade-offs. Again, we're giving up things and we're, well, that's a good question. I mean, that's one of the drawbacks. Where there would be driveway, entrances. I mean, you would have driveway entrances, but, well, exactly. And that's what the exercise is. Okay, well, that's what you're going to have to vote on today. Okay, all right. Yes. Well, yes, so this would be two-way bike lane, and you see parking on both sides in this scenario. Right, so this one is parking on one side, same thing, and sidewalk on one side. Add sidewalk. Yes. Oh, yeah, actually, do we have a microphone to take? And by the way, I want to save most of the questions for later, but just for clarification purposes at this point, just so you understand what we're doing.
Yeah, thank you. And I really appreciate you guys coming and struggling with this because we've all struggled with it for years. But when we look at your survey, and the number one thing is bike lanes, it's very clear that the bike lobby has taken over the survey. I've come to 2 city meetings from Rambla Pacifico today on the Coast Highway, this one and one previous. I saw one cyclist on the highway. There's a lot more on the weekends. They're recreational. Yet they have skewed the results terribly. What do we have? 50, 60 people here, maybe 35 residents. They're going to feel very differently than what your survey says. And one thing you didn't seem to have that, is critical, how are we going to narrow lanes in any of these options?
Yeah, almost all of them.
Okay,
We would-
because I would say just as we need a median for emergency access, if you narrow your lanes, then you're going to have a lot more accidents because people come to the beach on a weekend, and as one highway patrolman told me, they leave their mind behind. And
Well,
so
yeah.
yeah, I think what you have to start off with, I think maybe we're starting off wrong. To start off, not with the survey that's
Yeah.
skewed.
How about we go through all of the?
But
Yeah.
let me just add one thought.
Yeah.
But go, okay, what is mandatory? Mandatory is residents being able to access their house. Mandatory is not eliminating parking because the Coastal Commission won't let us. We've fought that battle before. So if you start with that criteria, it is limited. And yet, as you pointed out, in different locations, we can have different results.
Okay, and
Right.
that's again why we're asking you to tell us of the different cross sections, what you like. And I think there were actually quite a few residents who wanted bike lanes as well from the discussions we've had. So the narrowest we go is 10 foot 6 inches, and actually narrower lanes slow cars down, which is one of the things we all want to achieve. But I'm sorry. In different places, it's 11 or 12 in most places. So anyhow, here's another option with a median. And this could be either planted or something that emergency access can drive on. And that's with a sidewalk. And this is with the center turn lane, same thing. Now here's one with parking on the housing side and just regular bike lanes that are not protected. Maintains the median turn lane. And here's another one, protected bike lanes, both sides, center median, and parking just on the beach side. And this one is 4 lanes, parking on both sides, and protected bike lanes. Okay, so that's the first one, and that's up here. When you get ready to vote, you can come up and look at these. The second one is sort of the west end. This is no development on the mountainside, housing on the beach side. Yeah, I'm sorry, thank you. I'm sorry, yeah, east end. Same kind of thing, pretty much the same results on the survey. And again, dead last, I want the road to stay the same as it is. So the options that we've come up here, 4 lanes, we keep the travel lanes, colored bike lanes, these are not protected. We maintain parking on the beach side, but no parking on the mountain side. The next one is protected bike lanes. Protected bike lane on the beach side, regular bike lane on the other side, no median. And here's parking on the beach side, 4 lanes, 2-way bikeway on the mountain side. And here's, wait a minute, here, let me get to, yeah, it's 2 lanes, so it's bikes going this way and bikes going this way. It's 12 feet wide. Yeah, similar to a bike path. And here's bike lane just going one direction, parking on both sides, 4 lanes, no median. Now, one like this is, how does emergency access get through? You know, it's a question. Parking both sides, no bike lanes, 4 lanes of travel. Again, no access for emergency. So that's the kind of the center, what we've got out there in some places now, with the center paddles. Yeah, the paddle, you can't turn against them. So this one adds a sidewalk on the beach side, no parking on the mountain side. And here we go, 4 lanes, protected bike lane, both sides, and parking on both sides. 4 lanes, colored bike lane, both sides, a diverter, and parking just on the housing side. So that's number 2. Typology number 3. This is the center part. This is the sort of the center of the city. Commercial on both sides, housing on both sides, a lot of activity. Again, pretty much same results on the survey. These really were the same for every one that we saw. So here are the options that we're presenting. 4 lanes, landscaped median. There's been a lot of desire, we've heard, to make this a boulevard. Landscape median can help slow things down and beautify and make it feel more like a boulevard. And here we'd have protected bike lanes on both sides with some landscaping there and parking on the beach side. Here we got protected bike lanes both sides, parking on the beach side, and a sidewalk. On this one, landscape median, parking on the beach side, and 2-way protected bike lane on the beach side. 4-lane center turn lane, colored bike lanes both sides, parking on both sides, and we maintain the center turn lanes. So here we have emergency access, but less beautification. Yes?
A bike that's going one way, and then it gets to the next section, and now it's got to cross the road and go over to the other bike lane that's on the other side.
Yeah, good
So-
point.
So you can't look at these things in isolation.
Right.
because-
Well,
right?
there would be transition points where they would cross the road at a signalized intersection. So, that's what we would have to do. Yeah. Well, we can put the infrastructure out there, and we have to do the best we can with that. So here's landscape median. A little bit of outdoor dining, a little wider sidewalks on the beach side, and 2-way bike lanes on the beach side as well. And here is a median with no landscape. This is emergency access available. Protected bike lanes both sides. And here is the landscape median, 2-way protected bike lanes, sidewalks on both sides. And again, I want to show a few pictures here. Again, we heard lots of people want to make the center area more like a boulevard, less like a highway. And the option is to make it that way, to redesign it. This, by the way, is State Route 75 through Coronado. They have more width than we do here. But a state highway, it is possible. I just want to show it is possible to have a really nice boulevard along a state highway. And it's, I think, one of the best examples of state highway going through a commercial area that really, I'm showing that it's be feasible. Yeah. Well, and here's what we asked this question in the survey. For the central part of Malibu, what is your preference? Do you want to create more of a boulevard character with features such as a gateway, median, landscape, wider sidewalks, and bike lanes to slow traffic? Or do you want to keep the segment the same as it is and keep traffic moving? 90% of our respondents said they want more of a boulevard atmosphere to it. Well, we had, I think, how many responses to our survey altogether? And the workshop, the last workshop we had about 40-some people here. And then I think we had about 40-some respondents to our survey as well. So, and some of them live here. I mean, a lot of the people who were hearing the local community want this as well. And I also want to point out another thing. This is a state highway. So people from outside are legitimate stakeholders in this as well. So, we're hearing a lot from residents, and that's important. We definitely prioritize residents, but people who don't live here are also legitimate stakeholders. So this is what we heard. Yes. Good question. How many people are satisfied with the way it is today? Yeah. How many people are happy with the way it is now? Yeah, the central part. How many people are happy with the way it is now? You want to keep it the same? Okay. Huh? Okay. We've heard from people that we want change. And well, so we're throwing out options, and that's the purpose. That's the purpose of tonight, for you to tell us what you want. And we're trying to hear from everybody. Yeah, and I don't want to get too many questions now. At the end, we're going to have plenty of time for that.
Quick
Yes.
question. Have you done a safety study of these options? Because as people just voting on pictures, we have no idea what some of the risks in some of these options are. So what has Caltrans done to assess that?
I was going to ask, so.
It's Lee Haber from our Traffic and Safety.
Good evening, Lee Haber. I'm Chief Safety Officer for District 7. So what Ryan's here right now, usually I don't need it, but sure. Gets me in trouble. I usually am loud, even as a little kid. Ryan's here to get input and vote. I hear what you folks are saying over here of like, how can that work? Wait a minute. We're talking on different things. We have concerns. We're trying to work things out. And what Ryan said is trying to balance things is crucial. So we really want to get input from the residents that are here. Please vote. Please look at it. Obviously, some of these you may go, oh, that's pie in the sky. Okay, that may be, but we're trying to appeal to a broad group and let everybody vote and weigh in. And so that's my input for it. But we're here to listen. We're trying to work on improvements. We've got some options. We've talked about bike lanes in that central area between Carbon Canyon through to the pier. Rob DeBoe and I have been working on some different options. We're trying to get there on some different features. None of this is simple. Rob and I are talking about speed limit setting, working with CHP and the sheriff. But there's aspects to that we have to do as well. But when Ryan's here, he's talking about hard infrastructure improvements that we're trying to plan out. We can get some improvements and some speed reductions with narrower lanes and other features out there. It's a longer term effort, but I would ask you just please work with him and please give it a vote because this is an important night. So thank you.
Right. Thanks, Lee. To your question, none of these proposals are unsafe, relatively. I mean, I'm confident that every one of these is probably, well, with the exceptions that keep things pretty much the same as they are safer than what we've got today. So that's, we're looking to make things safer and better. Yeah, Michelle, and again, I want to keep most comments towards the end of his clarification.
I just want to ask a quick question. You're doing the boulevard treatment here.
Yeah, this is a rendering of
Rendering, yeah.
what it
So-
could look like.
What it could look like. How? I mean, where's the space for all that?
We looked, so for all of these segments, we looked at what curb to curb or what pavement width we have. This fits,
Okay.
depending on how wide you make that sidewalk over there.
Well, yeah, obviously.
And depending on how, wide you make the median and the landscape. But this is so here we're losing parking.
Right. And
Well,
well,
if we make it a nice boulevard, it becomes a destination rather than a pass-through. And they may get more business. And in
You
fact,
figure out-
in most places where you do this sort of thing, it's good for business.
and you figure out someplace else for the parking.
Yep. So anyhow, this is a possibility. I mean, if you like this, it's something you could, yeah. So, okay. The fourth segment is Cross Creek to Webb Way. And we've only got a few options here. Again, same results on the survey. There's a lot of width here. We've got more width here to play with than any other stretch of the highway in Malibu. This is Cross Creek to Webb Way. So here's an option, wide median, bike lanes actually both sides, two-way bike lane on one side, 4 lanes of traffic, parking. So it's an option to, pretty much do most everything. Here's an option with the 4 lanes, parking both sides, and what we call buffered bike lanes that don't have physical barriers, but some width between the bike lane and the travel lane. And here's another one, protected bike lanes both sides, median, parking both sides. So this one is a lot easier to work with because we have more width to work with. And in this case, the emergency access could take place on the median. And then our last prototype, or typology. No development on either side. 4 lane, center turn lane, parking both sides. This is one option. Take 4 lanes of travel, parking on the beach side, 2-way bike lanes on the beach side, no parking on the mountain side. And this would have bike lanes in both directions. Now this one would come down to 2 lanes. Now once you get further west, traffic volumes come down quite a bit. And we have the option to come down to 1 lane in each direction. If we do that, it gives us a lot of possibilities. So parking both sides, bike lanes both sides, and 2-way on the beach side. And here's another option that I'm going to, we'll talk about this more later on, but when you take away 2 lanes of travel, you've got space for other things. Like here we could add angled parking on the beach side and actually increase the amount of parking there. And then this one is parking beach side, bike lanes on both sides, 1 way. So, we have not done a survey. We looked into doing surveys and we're told that it would be quite expensive and time consuming. At some point, we need to do that. Yeah, and if we have more land, more space, there's more things we can fit in and satisfy more people and meet more of our goals. Okay, yes. There is not a legal mandate, but Caltrans does have in its policies to provide, yeah. On the eastern end, it's in the 40 to 45,000 range per day. Per day. Oh, per year? Multiply that by 365. I don't know. We don't have counts of that. It would be good to have those. Well, most people told us they wanted bike lanes. Again, that came up to number one in our surveys and at our workshop last time. And it's when there's a small group of people who do it today, because it's so uncomfortable for most people. If we provide good bike lanes, more people will do it. People who, maybe younger people and older people and people who aren't just ready to go out on Pacific Coast Highway the way it is today. We'll get more people interested in doing it if they feel safe. And that's the case here. Yeah, and I'm going to show those later on. Okay, why don't we clarification questions okay for this exercise, but yeah.
You're going to have us vote on some of these options, correct?
Have you vote on all these options?
Correct.
I want you to rank them.
And so each of those 4 sections, I live in Las Flores Beach, and between Topanga and basically Carbon, all the options there, every single one of them has a bike lane. I think if you gave the 1,000 of us who live in that zone an option without a bike lane, you'd get 1,000 votes for without a bike lane. So there will be no option for me to vote on that does not include a bike lane. There's 17 other options, but none of them do not include having no bike lane.
Las Flores to Carbon, did you say?
I was saying basically from Topanga all the way to Carbon in that area.
We have some options without bike lanes.
With no bike lanes. Okay,
yes.
Sorry, I did not see those. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so does everybody understand? So what we're going to do, so ideally, the best way to do it, if you can scan this QR code, and it's also on this paper survey, I'll get to you in a minute. Scan that in, and you can do the survey on your phone. You can go around and look at each of these and make your vote and rank them for each one of these. If you don't want to do that, you can use the paper survey and just fill it out. We've got pens over there. But if you want to see the results tonight, scanning the QR code will enable us to show you the results later on tonight. Clarifying question?
Are only attendees here tonight allowed to participate in this, or can we ask others who are not here?
Yes. We've got,
So we can share the
survey
QR
is
code.
on our website,
Uh-huh.
and we've got a virtual workshop on the 12th of September.
Okay.
So there's more opportunity to participate in the survey.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Oh, hold a second.
I'm sorry. Question about the protected bike lanes on the beach side. How does that work with people coming in and out of their driveways? What is a protected bike lane, and how does that? I don't understand how that works.
It would have gaps to get through where there's a driveway.
Okay, but the driveways are pretty much all the way down.
Oh, in a place like that, it won't work really well.
Okay.
And we'd
But then
rather
if
have
that's
it on the
something
other
that we're
side of the
gonna-
street then.
If that's something that we're going to vote on, then we don't.
Yeah, well, Topanga to Las Flores is a good example where it'd be better to have it on the mountainside because of the driveways. If you're, I'm sorry, let's, No. We're not going to block your access to your house. Yeah.
So those sections where you have the double or the bike lane, we would look at places where you can put that. That's not blocking any driveways or any residents. So it would be like in a section where potentially where you have there's no access to somebody's home. So that's a section where that would probably fit in. If it's somewhere else, yeah, it would be a problem with someone accessing their house coming in and out. And that's something where they would probably, that would be somewhere that where they would probably not recommend putting it in. So that's something to consider when you're looking through on those steps.
We're not going to block access to your house. I mean, that we're not going to do that. Okay. Yeah, yes.
I'm looking at option 1, and it seems that each of those offers some type of a bike lane. There is none with no bike lane that I see here, unless I'm messing up. I'm looking at the QR code survey, and I go from 1C, D, A, F, etc. But they all have bike lanes, and then the other question I had is from Las Tunas Canyon Road, which is the start of Malibu. We don't cover that, and yet that's probably a great place for a bike lane in that area.
Well, the 5 typologies represent the whole stretch. And again, the typologies are based on what's on the side of the highway. So if that stretch has housing on both sides, or that would be represented by that typology. So, and yeah, where's the mic? Yeah.
I'm a little bit confused on it, and I think others are. That, in other words, if I'm going to choose the section between Las Flores and Carbon, and I want to pick one of the options that's on here, can I pick any of the options?
Yes.
Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5?
Yes, rank them.
And how do I indicate it's for that location?
Well, you'll see in the survey, the question is typology 1 has the question, it shows all these, and you rank them below, and then you go to typology. The next question is about typology 2.
But I don't want to rank any of the choices I have in 1. I don't like them. For Las Flores, I'm talking to Las Flores to Carbon.
I think, good question. Let's, for each one of these, when we're done, let's ask the question, how many people don't like any of the options? And we'll record that. Okay? Michelle?
We're looking here at the different choices.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of walking, and there's removing of parking and all that. Where are the people crossing the street?
Okay, right now these are about cross sections. We're going to address crossings and intersections later on, and you'll see some of that later on. So right now we're just doing these cross sections. Yeah. So, and we'll be around if you have questions. Damien.
Just as a note for anyone who hates all of them, there is a way to put a comment at the bottom where you can write in, I hate all of these. So just as a note, there is a way for even you to communicate that all of these suck, or whatever you want to say.
Yes.
Pretty loud. Just real quick, what's the national park option at the end? Can you explain that?
Yeah, we're going to go through that when we're done with this exercise. Yes. Yeah, don't fill out that part of the survey until we get there. Yeah, so we're gonna go through these first, and then we're gonna talk about those other 2 options. Yeah. So okay, and again, so you see the dilemma we've got here: limited space, a lot of different interests, and a lot of different people wanting different things. we're not going to be able to keep everybody happy with all of these. We're trying to find a way of improving this highway that makes it safer, that works for the most people, and solves the problem as best we can. There is no perfect solution. Everybody has told us, pretty much except for a few, the existing is not acceptable. Yes. Okay, vote against that one. Yeah.
All bike lanes all the way down in concept one. So, someone asked, is there an option with no bike lanes? You cannot ask people who live in these houses right along there to, what are they supposed to do? Zip in and out between the bikes as they
We
go zooming
have
by?
an option for regular bike lanes.
No, but I'm not talking about regular bikes. I'm saying, look, if you look at concept number 1A, there's 2 bikes. 1B, 2 bikes. 1C, 2 bikes, all next to the cream-colored house. 1D, 2 bikes. 1E, 1 bike and a car. And 1F, 1 bike, no car. And 1G, 1 bike. So those people who live in that cream-colored house cannot get out. If they have a car in a driveway, or if they want to get out, they can't. They're just going to be dodging.
1E is regular bike lanes that are not protected.
No, but I'm not talking about whether they're protected or not. There are bikes zooming up and down, and these people can no longer get out of their house.
You can cross the bike lane to get in and out of the house. Yeah, but I do not anticipate a steady stream of bikes all the time. I mean, you
Excuse me, can I
you'll be
just,
able to turn into the bike lane.
Can
So, Damien, and then Scott, and again, clarifying questions right now.
I ask a question about the bike lanes?
Yes.
It's clear that we are dealing with limited width. What is the overall width on average that you all are doing here? Because I see no dimension control on the overall width, average.
6 feet for the bike
No,
lanes.
no, no, the overall width of PCH.
Oh, it ranges from, I think most of it was 78 to 82.
Okay, and two lanes account for how much of that?
Well, if we go down
two
to
bike
10'6" for travel lanes, that would be 21 feet. The bike lanes are 6 feet each.
Correct, 12 feet.
Yes.
Okay, you know what percentage that is of the overall width we have to work with, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You said that that's a policy within Caltrans regarding bike lanes, correct?
We have a policy that says all of our state highways should accommodate bicycles and pedestrians.
Should.
Yes.
Should, but some highways maybe just should not. So my question, is there a mechanism within Caltrans to kill bike lanes and pick up 12 more feet?
Well, we are having you vote tonight.
Well, no, because I'm very curious about the process. In Caltrans, we vote, we make opinions. Ultimately, how does the decision process, how many people, the methodology to arrive at what you decide to do, how do you all do that?
We are going to internally make some decisions, what we put in the plan.
Who's we? How many people? Is that, what is your
Planning
process?
staff over here.
Okay.
And our planning director, and this could go all the way up to our director if it needs to.
Okay.
We'll
So
make
my
some
question is
and we
how
will take into account. We are doing our best to listen to what you have
you
to
are
say.
doing your best, and I commend you, but you are dealing with a limited amount of width. And my
Exactly.
question is, how do you kill, for lack of a better word, the bike lane and just say it's not appropriate here?
If nobody wants it, then we'll probably not go that direction.
So there is a possibility that if you get the vast majority to say we would rather take 12 feet to save lives and make, because putting bike paths on PCH is counter to saving lives, no matter how good your intentions. And the ludicrous part of putting bike lanes and saying, well, we're going to have no bike lanes here for 21 miles, and then we're going to have bike lanes. So what you're going to come in your car with the bike on your bike rack, and then you're going to bring it into Malibu, and then you're going to bike for 5 miles. It's just not feasible. And I don't see why nobody's discussing the lack of feasibility, that maybe it just does not belong here.
That's why we're showing different options.
We need 12
And-
feet. There's 12
and-
feet
but-
there.
And again, I want to repeat, the majority of people who have told us, so the input we've gotten so far, bike lanes came in number one.
Okay, I just want to say one thing. As a builder in Malibu my whole life, in fighting for inches for fire department turnarounds,
Yeah.
fighting for inches for access with fire access and roads and things, and projects I've dealt with Caltrans on, you know, sometimes you get down to inches.
Yep.
And you fight for every inch.
Yep. That's
And
exactly
one thing
what
I do see very problematic here is without an overlay survey to understand easements and access and eminent domain, I mean, this could legally, like the one gentleman said, take a very long time. So why not simplify this and get rid of bike lanes?
Because most people have told us they want them.
I don't understand who
And-
most people are.
And we
I'm-
have an obligation to.
Yeah.
The
Can you
people
not
we've
let the
heard
numbers?
from-
Can you
okay,
let the
look,
numbers? Just my
let's-
last thing is, can you
let's
let
ha-
the numbers that you guys work with speak for themselves on your traffic studies?
Okay. I want to get to the voting. Another clarification? Yeah. Yeah, okay, he said, okay. Okay, well, let's do that. Show of hands, how many people want bike lanes? That's why we have the different typologies. Okay, so how many people said they want bike lanes? Okay.
Can I?
How many don't want bike lanes? Okay. All right.
Oh. That's where we need them.
All right. It's a bit of a majority
if I could just
don't
make
want bike lanes here.
As
But-
maybe one of the lonely cyclists in the room, I can assure you that the bike lanes are already there on PCH. They're just not indicated. That people are riding on PCH on their bikes, and they're going to do that forever because the Santa Monica Mountains are an incredible place to ride a bike. And unfortunately, on the west side of Los Angeles, the only way to get to them is on PCH. And the big issue right now is that the cyclists and the motorists are all fighting over their little piece of the road.
Yeah.
And I think that if we're able to clearly indicate what piece of the road belongs to which user, it's actually going to make the situation a lot safer. It's going to turn the tone down a lot. And the animosity towards cyclists and cyclists towards motorists is
Yeah.
going to be better once
Okay.
we do this.
And I want to kind of save some of this discussion for afterwards. And I just want to point out one thing. The bike lanes will help to slow the traffic down also. And that's one thing that everybody said they wanted. So any clarification, questions on the survey? Question about the survey?
I just wonder, on the western side, is there any way to put a bike lane on the beach, like how they have it in Santa Monica?
I think it's pretty narrow in a lot of the places out there. Pretty narrow and rocky. Yeah. 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 So, okay. We'll take 20, 30 minutes, something like that, for you to come up and look at these and cast your votes. And again, better for you to use the QR code because we'll have the results show up. And we'll be up here if you have questions, and then we'll reconvene and move on to the next segment. Thank you.
I could get chilly, but I'm not. I like it. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right.
So just wanted to flag that. Oops.
All right. Thank you.
For clarification, that's the sign sheet. That's not a QR code. Go to the wrong user.
This is the sign-in? Huh?
This is the sign sheet.
Oh.
Not QR code is go to the wrong user. you might need to make a little bit clearer.
Okay, clarification. I was mistaken in saying this is the QR code for the survey. It's actually, we need to use the QR code on here. That's a different one. So please use the QR code here for the survey. Yeah. Yep.
All these studies,
Yep.
and I appreciate what you guys do. Problem of safety.
Keep it open. I know we haven't decided as a group, but at least the next couple of weeks.
Okay. Hello. Hello, everybody. Okay, are we wrapping up the survey part? Let's take our seats again. Huh? Huh?
I had a couple things to say to you. Have a second?
Yeah, real quick.
One is with the bicycles. There's a state law that says that not just Caltrans, but everyone needs to accommodate bikes, pedestrians, transit. So accommodate that.
Right.
It's not necessarily biking.
Yeah.
But and then the other thing is there's a lot of people here, our studies within Malibu.
Right.
Asking about all the cars.
Right.
So don't
Yep.
worry about that.
Absolutely. No, I'm aware of that. Okay. Let's take our seats. And just want to make sure, first of all, you all had a chance to vote on all 5 typologies. So, okay. Okay, next, I just want to show a couple other options to think about for right now. This option is what we're calling the sort of national park-like option. And with this one, we treat this as we're going through a national park. In some places, some national parks you can only get to by bus. And here we're saying lots of buses, parking lots for people to park in, and less parking with this, but again, bus service and treating the area with this kind of treatment and treating it like you're going through a national park. You slow down, you're more respectful of the environment, you're more respectful of the community, and this is an option that would have bus lanes. It could be done without bus lanes. It would be more effective with bus lanes, but in your survey, there's an option to vote on that. It's a big picture thing, and this concept would take a while because we would need the adequate parking, and the biggest thing with this was we'd need to find operating expenses for the buses. It wouldn't be cheap to operate a lot of buses, but it's an option we're throwing out there, and we'd like to get your feedback on that. If you could continue in the survey, it is the next question in the survey. So give you a minute to fill that out, and maybe you've already done that, I don't know. But I'll give you a minute for that. Yes, Damien?
So clarification, is that a specific section of Malibu? Is that just a general question, or
It's a general question. It could be the whole thing. It could be some parts of it. But the idea is that it would
You're
work,
just assessing
it would work
whether,
best
how
if it was
favorable.
done big.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So this is not a west and east
Right.
end.
This
type
is kind
thing.
of
This
the-
is general.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Good question. Yes. Yes. Well, there's travel lanes there. Yes, there's still travel lanes. Yep. Yep, yep. Yes. Okay. Good point. Good point. Okay. Everybody got that one? Okay, now the next concept is what we're calling the beach access option. And I did show something similar to this earlier on. This would be something that we would consider in the more western parts, maybe west of Trancas, for example, or maybe a little further east, but where we could come down to 2 lanes in each direction. Protected bike lanes both ways or bike lanes both ways, and eliminate parking on the mountainside. This is for beach access. But we could do reverse in angled parking, back in angled parking, and provide more of it. Right now we've got a lot of people over in that part of the city that are parking on the mountainside and walking across the highway. We don't want that to happen if we can help it. So this would encourage people to park on the beach side, and there would be a sidewalk that they could walk along as well to get to the beach access. So that's the next question in your survey. You like it? You don't like it? Some options there. I'll give you a minute for that one. Okay, so those are the main things we wanted to have you vote on tonight. Want to get on to some other topics. So we talked so far about cross sections, the linear, but we also have to think about crossing the street, the highway, and intersections. Intersections have quite a few crashes as well. And so how do we treat some of those? I want to show you the ones that we've looked at and the direction we're headed with this. And this is in order of where we've seen the total number of crashes in the last 5 years. Bonsall, Las Flores, John Tyler, Webway, and we'll go through each one of these. And we can see the crash types and the primary crash factor, failure to yield in a lot of them, broadside crash types. So we went out and visited each one of these and started to develop some concepts to make the changes. So this is Bonsall, and we're kind of combining Bonsall with Westward Beach, that whole area. One of the issues is that people are turning left out of Bonsall. It is now right turn only, but there are people violating that. It isn't easy to see around the shrubbery there, the landscaping. So this was number one. So some of the things we've talked about here, let me just finish this one and I'll get to you. Yeah.
The 2015 traffic study that Caltrans and the city of Malibu did recommended solving this problem by putting in a new bridge to connect Westward Beach Road into the traffic light at Bush Drive. Why aren't you studying that?
A new bridge from
the traffic light at Bush Drive, the traffic light at Pacific Coast Highway at Bush Drive, just immediately west of this, extending across Zuma Creek to connect to Westward Beach Road and eliminating the intersection at Westward Beach Road at Pacific Coast Highway where there's that weird configuration you're talking about. That should be studied.
Okay, we can put it in our list.
Please do, because
please,
that was
let's take note of that. We'll put it in our list.
that was the conclusion in 2015, and it made a lot of sense. We worked very hard on that.
Yeah, except the cost would be
Yeah, building a bridge.
And you need about 400, 450 feet of ramp on both sides. Space is an issue.
Correct.
So these are.
It would also solve the Zuma Beach access problem because you would allow that new road to be used to access Zuma Beach with a left turn signal off the Pacific Coast Highway, solving the underpass problem, which is a road that you're never going to get to use again because of the artesian spring down there.
Okay, so let me show you some of the ideas we've come up with here.
Thank
We need to install a diverter so people can't turn left out of Bonsall, cut back the vegetation, close off the left turn lane from Westward Beach Road. But here's two options. Realign the intersections so that they meet one another and put a signal there. And the other one is to bring this section down to 2 lanes and install an oblong roundabout. Yes, a lot cheaper than a bridge, a whole lot cheaper than a bridge. Well, you left turn by going around the roundabout. Yep. Roundabouts, by the way, significantly reduce crashes. Because they eliminate conflicts. They reduce the severity of crashes when they do happen because people are going slower. And they actually have more capacity to handle traffic than, for example, a signal. So, how do you get out of what? Well, you would use the roundabout.
Going to have enough capacity. When we had the Woolsey fire, it was backstopped. I never left.
Okay, so you're saying coming down from 4 lanes to 2.
Correct.
Yeah, it would. It would slow things down coming out. But volumes here are lower than other places. So it's an option we're putting out there, and we want to hear your
development west of that, though.
We want to hear your feedback. So we've heard a bridge. How, what do you think of the round? So you don't like the roundabout? Okay. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, you're up. Tell us your concerns with this.
I'll hit it all at one time.
Okay, so we're doing specifically this one right now. Okay, so we're still doing, if you've got questions unrelated to this, we're going to hold those from when we finish this. Okay, very good. But if it's a question about this or a comment, we'd like to hear your thoughts. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's enough space, and you could do. Something you could drive over the median. You could do Grasscrete, which is something similar to what you're talking about. So yes, that's something that could be done. Yes. Well, yes. This
Slow down the speed approaching down the hill. It's an interesting idea.
Yes, this would definitely slow cars down. 1 lane in each direction is automatically slower than 2 lanes in each direction because the slower car sets the pace. And the roundabout itself slows cars down quite a bit. This would bring prevailing speeds down, so we went out and did a speed survey later on and found that the vehicles were going slower. It might enable us to lower the speed limit. And I'm going to talk about some other options related to speed limit later on as well. So, yes. Oh, yeah. Let's give him a mic. Yeah, he asked us if we could provide links to Caltrans on Colorado and Texas DOT where they're using lots of roundabouts. Well, I mean, say Caltrans.
I ask that because it's foreign, but it's being used in Dallas, Texas, and in Denver, where we have a massive amount of development going on, and it's working, and it's great looking. But we need to educate people more on it. I'm meeting with a traffic engineer myself, with a friend of mine, just to get a little more educated on it, because I've never built a roundabout to understand this, because it's working there. And instead of the T-bone intersection where you get somebody killed, you get the fender bender.
The
but it saves
research on
lives.
roundabouts is solid.
Solid.
They are safer. They're much safer. And Michigan is the place where they're using more of these than anywhere in the U.S. right now. But it's something, it's a tool that, you know, we're aware of, and I know Lee's interested in roundabouts as well. So where we can use them, we would like to do that. So, all right, yes. So let's get you a mic.
Does require more space, as you can see, but
Well, we would get the space from eliminating the two lanes.
going to be, I guess, with one lane it could work if it's a 2-lane, and all the people who come to the beach who've never used anything like this, I don't see that working, you know, at any time, because I mean, I've lived in New Jersey. I'm from the East Coast, if you haven't noticed, but one of the East Coast states. And New Jersey, first traffic circle in the United States, and they had the most. They are getting rid of them because they've had problems with it. But I think they do work. I've seen the numbers on it too. But when you have a tourist population here or people panicking in a fire or whatever, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
well,
especially people who are not used to traffic circles.
we don't have space for a multi-lane or a 2-lane roundabout, so it would have to be a single-lane roundabout.
Right.
And people would have to slow down and
Not thinking of putting that down in East Malibu, are you?
no.
Yeah, because I don't see
I mean,
that
we would consider it where it fits, and I'm going to show you some other ones. So we'll consider it where it fits. But okay, this is John Tyler Drive. Big issue with people getting hit turning left, and so we're talking about putting a protected left turn lane in there, which basically means there will be a left arrow, and you can only go when the left comes on. So this is a more minor improvement there. Here's PCH and Webway. This one is where we think replacing the signalized intersection with a multi-lane roundabout would make an enormous improvement in this intersection. It would not only reduce crashes and crash severity, it would also create a lot, we'd gain a lot of space. There's a lot of turn lanes out there. With roundabouts, you don't need turn lanes. So we're also looking at simpler things, just adding a crosswalk on the east leg, putting protected bike lanes through here. It's got lots of extra space. Putting countdown signals on the pedestrian signals. You know, a few smaller things like that. But the big one would be, and that center thing, that's just, you know, we can come back with a sample, but it would look kind of like this. It would be a double lane roundabout. Yep, fender benders are better than fatalities. And, you know, people learn how to do it. So, but again, questioning, you know, I mean, the issue is this better than what we've got now? So, I mean, just curious. I mean, does anybody have a reaction to this? Yes. Okay. Yep. Yep. Okay. they have. Take the mic. Yeah. 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 So, and this is also an opportunity. I mean, if we had more time, the graphic artist would have put more in there. It's an opportunity to make a gateway out of this and put something really attractive in the middle. Make an entrance to this part of Malibu. Roundabouts move about 30% more cars than signalized intersections. Good question. Right, and they don't need power and they reduce maintenance costs, and there's just a lot of advantages to roundabouts. So, any more comments on this question? Well, it's 2 lanes in each direction. It's been a while. It's been a while. Okay. Canaan Doom Road intersection prohibiting right turn on red is something, because there's a lot of people, the visibility is poor coming up to that intersection from the east, so prohibiting right turn on red. Considering removing one of the right turn lanes, adding a crosswalk on the other side, and moving the existing bus stop to a better place and putting a sidewalk to the bus stop. And maybe even putting a raised median in the double yellow areas. So, yes.
So if you're heading southbound or eastbound here, the signals are not aligned over the lanes. So if you're in the number 1 lane, it looks like you're looking at the turn lane signal.
You got that, Lee? Okay. Thank you. Good information. Malibu Canyon Road, adding a crosswalk in here, prohibiting right turn on red, replacing one of the eastbound left turn lanes with a median, help to slow things down a bit, and bike lanes through this intersection would help to narrow it and slow it down a bit, and reconstructing some of the ramps to make them ADA accessible, putting a bus stop on PCH and providing ADA access. Again, some of these things are smaller improvements, but things that could be done here. Heather Cliff Road, signal ahead signs to both approaches, moving or adding a crosswalk to the west leg, and then again coordinating bike lanes in the cross section here. Again, it's pretty wide out there and people are speeding. Now here's another complicated one. We had crashes at Las Flores and we had crashes at Rambla Pacifico. We decided this is one location that needs some attention, and it's the number 1. Las Flores, I think, was, this location together is the worst. Yes. So one thing we thought about, there's 2 signals that are close to one another, and people are speeding through both of them. So one idea is to make sure that we change the timing so that you're going to hit at least one of the red lights. You're not going to be able to speed through both of them. The other suggestions, we're adding a lot of modification to this intersection with, I don't know if you can see actually this laser beam doesn't show up very well, but we've added a lot of concrete to narrow things down, put in a median on the west side of that, replace part of the turn lane with the median, narrow the turns in and out of both of those streets with some curb extensions, putting a median island in there at Rambla Pacifico. People are speeding right across there and going into the parking lot. And then with protected bike lanes here, again, we're narrowing the feel of it with some concrete. So there's a lot of different places. We're just trying to slow this whole intersection down by adding islands and that sort of thing in addition to the signal changing. Yes.
Once again, the 2015 Caltrans study had a solution for this, and I think it should be at least studied. And yes, it involves another bridge, but it meant relocating Rambla Pacifico into Las Flores Canyon Road up the canyon. And yeah, you're talking about another bridge and another ramp, but that would eliminate the double traffic signal. And Caltrans at that time told us, and I don't know if this has changed, but the Las Flores Creek Bridge was not sufficient to carry enough water underneath the highway, and that it needed to be rebuilt and raised.
And that's actually that's another project it's being looked at right now.
Okay, so when you're doing that, a lot of your stuff will have to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Because you need to build it to standard,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But maybe you can look at that 2015 study.
Yeah,
and
we'll
consider
do that. Let's make note of that to look at that. I mean, part of that idea, and that idea can actually be split into two. One of them could just be terminating Rambla Pacifico or one of the other two and making it into one intersection without the bridge. The bridge, we'll look at that. But, okay, so you're suggesting Las Flores turns into Rambla Pacifico.
No, Rambla Pacifico would be routed over a bridge and plug into Las Flores. And that was what you guys came up with, not me. I mean, yeah, it would have been.
Oh, upstream of these two. Okay. I see.
Now, this was your guys' solution to this.
Okay.
And I'm just wondering.
Okay, well,
it needs to be
let's make
studied.
sure we. Okay. Okay.
If there's parkland up there, when we go through environmental process, we get into what we call a section 4F when we're touching anything with parks, and that raises the environmental document level, which takes additional time and additional studies. So that would not change it. When we've gone through and put old highway right-of-way back into parks where a city has done that, and we came through years later, decades later, and needed to do some work, we then had to go through the Section 4F efforts on the environmental document phase. So
okay.
I don't want anybody thinking it's simple. Sorry to be a party pooper here, but we've got to, I want you guys to go into it with your eyes open of some of the challenges.
Okay. Very good. So we'll take note of that. Let's bring a mic up. Oh, Rob, did you want to say something?
And then one more thing that I want to talk about Las Flores and Rambla. The city did get $5 million to look at and redesign Las Flores and Rambla intersection and looking at that stuff. And so things like that, things like trying to figure out how we can consolidate this intersection and make it more safer, and doing those things is something that we're going to look into, evaluate. The city's taking the lead. We're going to take input from everybody. We're going to collaborate with Caltrans to try to come up with a comprehensive redesign of this whole intersection. So that's going to be happening here pretty soon, independent of what this is. So I just want to bring that up to everybody. That's something that's a really high priority project that my staff is going to be working on pretty soon, and looking to do something that's really kind of improve this intersection, because it is a very dangerous intersection and it has a lot of conflicts, and we want to look at something that resolves those issues. So yeah, so just go ahead. Go.
Yeah.
And that's the one that's just north of. Yep, got it. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Thanks.
Okay. All right. Thanks, Rob. Can we bring the mic up here? Yeah.
In the near term, is it possible to put some of the optical bars on the northbound or westbound lanes as you come into this intersection? Because you've got a grade differential there, and you also have some curvature. So if we could put some of the optical bars coming in, people might slow down a little bit before they come into this intersection. Along with that, Caltrans has done a really good job keeping those paddles replaced between the two turn pockets, because that's really the only safety feature there. So the crew up Las Flores has done a really good job with that. but also some of the wires that string the signals and lights impede your visibility of those signals. So I don't know whether there's any way to get better signals or brighter signals, or I don't know what the best optical lens is, because in the afternoon, drivers driving west or north are getting the sun in their eyes right there. So it's very hard to see, and they're accelerating into the current turn to get through the intersection. Also, people heading north or westbound, sometimes they try to pull a little move and cut up the right turn lane and then jump in. So I don't know if you can restrict that.
Well, with these the concrete that we added here, the islands would prevent that.
Just talking about sort of short-term things that Lee and
Yeah.
his crew could do. Some of these,
Okay.
you know,
And those are all Lee questions. Lee?
Pardon? Well, no, Lee knows. So
Yeah,
his crew
okay.
can do. Some of these are like the optical striping. You know, that could be done by the end of tomorrow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and I think that is something that could be done. There's another tool. You mentioned optical bars. There's another tool that we can consider called rumble bars that are linear things that you drive over, and when you drive over it, you hear it drrr, 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 as you're approaching a signal or a place where you need to slow down. So we can. Well, it wouldn't be in the bike area. It would be in the travel lanes.
But I just want to make one brief comment. Merrill reminded me, looking at this aerial photograph, there's a tree right there at the corner, the right turn going into Las Flores. As you're approaching the intersection going westbound, that tree actually obscures the traffic signal for a pretty long distance. As you're maybe that's the tree, but as a rider, I'm often looking further down the road to kind of figure out what I might have to encounter it.
Okay.
And this intersection is very dangerous.
And
I've noticed that there is a tree that actually makes the signal very hard to see, which that's obviously some tree trimming could easily.
Okay, let's
improve
take
that,
note
so.
of that. Okay, other comments on this? This is a big one. All right, Big Rock. Didn't see a whole lot that we could do out there, prohibiting right turn on red, because again, visibility is not good there at all. Overhead warning signs, and install vehicle head on the 1A pole, northeast corner of the intersection. Construct a raised median east of the intersection for about 150 feet, or a median that, again, emergency access can do. Construct a median in the area where double yellow line exists in the area left turn, providing landscape pockets to obtain limited traffic calming. So some things to look at there. Cavallari Road, big issue with people turning out of here, making left turns. So putting the delineators in the middle to prevent left turns. Consider preventing left turns. And again, there's a site issue, so trimming some of the landscaping. And then at Trancas Canyon, ladder, continental crosswalk, advanced stop line, you're just adding a crosswalk. Concrete median where the median is less than 10 feet wide. And here's another place. Consider replacing the traffic signals with a roundabout if we're at one lane here. So this is another place we could do a roundabout. Northbound right turn lane and bike lane to channel onto Trancas Road. Installation of right turn arrow, ADA improvements, and provide a sidewalk from the shopping center, conduct a new pedestrian underpass crossing to the beach. That's something that I think is being done now. So, El Matador access. This is another, and this sort of mirrors what we have in more than one location. We could say El Matador, could be El Pescador, could be La Piedra, and other places along there where we don't have signals or stop control. If we can come down to one lane here, put a roundabout in there, This would significantly improve the safety of this type of intersection. Okay, before I get into a few global improvements, and we're getting close to the end here, any questions about any of those that I just showed on the intersections?
Variation be on the numbers, on the
Well,
flow.
that area is where we have some of the highest volume. So that's where we're in the 40,000s.
True.
It'd be tough to come down to 2 lanes. I mean, normally we say 20,000 is kind of the cutoff. If we're below 20,000, we can get by with 2 lanes. If we have roundabouts because they have more capacity, maybe we can bump that up to 25 or so.
Has anybody ever done a roundabout hybrid like the Golden Gate Bridge where you move your lanes, 2 lanes in when everyone's coming in on Saturday morning?
Reversible lanes?
Reversible lanes.
Reversible lanes have been done, and they work where you have a strong directional bias at different parts of the day. So maybe everybody's going in the morning and coming out in the afternoon. I'm not sure we
That's
have
what
that.
PCH has on a hot weekend. I mean, on holiday weekends during the summer months, say from May to September, you do have that exact scenario.
Strong directional bias.
Saturday and Sunday, huge directional bias.
Okay, in the middle of the day, it kind of goes both ways, though, right? I mean, the morning is more in, and later afternoon out, but sort of in the middle, it's kind of.
You know, obviously, it would have to be studied
Yeah.
and look at the numbers and put a number counter out there and get some
Okay,
data.
well, it's an
if you
idea
could put
to.
that down as something to look at.
Okay.
Because these roundabouts, really, in my opinion, are obviously other cities, such as Denver and Dallas, have come to the conclusion they save lives. They slow people down, but you know, what's more important, getting there 5 minutes quicker or saving a life?
Well, with the roundabout, you might travel at a slower speed, but actually get there quicker.
True.
Because you don't have to wait for the traffic signal. So you kind of get the best of both worlds in that
It's
way.
great that you guys are talking about it.
Oh, no, Lee and I are both very interested in roundabouts. So, okay, some global improvements here. Wherever we've got pedestrian crossings, where there's 4 lanes and high traffic volumes, we can put in full pedestrian signals. Some of them are, flashing signals or what we call pedestrian hybrid signals, but making those full pedestrian signals. And this is a minor thing, moving advanced stop lines. So in other words, that bar that comes before the crosswalk, moving that back a couple feet can help provide more visibility. We need to add bus shelters, maps, schedules, and better access to the bus stops. We need good pedestrian crossings where we do have bus stops. Adding pedestrian signal crossings at all bus stops, again, where there's more than 4 lanes. Now, here's an interesting one. Consider modifying all signals to auto red for speeding. So in other words, these are called speed sensitive signals. And what they do is, if you are going at or below the posted speed limit, the signal stays on its normal cycle. But if you are exceeding the speed limit, you get a red. And it automatically slows people down. And people should learn, and we could post, speed sensitive signals, let people know, stay at the speed limit, and you stay on the regular cycle, but if you're exceeding the speed limit, you get a red. Yes. Okay. What if we did that to all of the signals? Are you doing that to all those signals, Rob?
It's being developed right now from Topanga all the way to John Tyler. But yeah, once we get this in, the other signals from John Tyler to Trancas could be adapted in this too. We have this project right now, our PCH Signal Sync project, that we're looking into developing the system right now. I have our teams working on doing a bunch of computer coding and programming to make sure this all comes in. But it's something that we're really looking forward to kind of implementing and doing.
Is it everything east of John Tyler?
It's going to be from John Tyler to Topanga. That section
All of them. Okay.
All of them are going to have that.
Okay, good.
It's right now we are looking to get completed by December of this year. That section may take a little longer. We're hoping to get that system up and running at the same time, but we're going as quick as you can on that one. But all the signals will be upgraded by the end of December. That system we'll be looking into try to get that in as soon as we can, probably the same time. But that may take a little bit longer to implement. But that's the plan.
All right. Another one is modifying the medians to facilitate movement of emergency vehicles. There are some medians out there right now that exist, especially sort of west of Malibu Canyon, that are curbed. Maybe we could eliminate the curb at the beginning of it and let emergency vehicles through. Might be an improvement for them. So, Damien?
On the intersections, and by the way, yes, absolutely, you should have, and Rob's already working on it, having those red lights that are speed-sensitive red lights. Later at night especially, I know that there's, you tend to have people who will just blow through intersections, irregardless of the light. So you might want to explore actually also including automated red light cameras for those particular intersections.
Oh. Next slide.
I was just queuing you up. I was setting you up so that you can
You're
just hit it home.
One step ahead. Okay. By the way, let me throw another question out there. And this is out of the box. In places like between Las Flores and Carbon, what if we added more signalized crosswalks? Just, and again, with the speed-sensitive signals in them. Don't like that idea. Okay, it would be a way of slowing traffic down in that area where people are speeding, and it's not easy to slow people down there. They see a red light? No, this would be full signal. Full signal. Pedestrian activated. Yeah. Or yeah. Yep.
There's nothing really in the center to, like some cities have state law stop when a light flashing. Something in the middle there to help narrow or reduce speeding through that area, because it's still.
Well, that's what I'm thinking of.
It's something, because it's still a problem all through that section.
Yeah, right. That's kind of what I'm thinking of. Okay.
Can I make a brief comment about the speed limit on PCH? Because I know in the last.
Yeah. Can we save that one?
Okay.
Okay.
Right.
And I think this next slide, and I think this is our last slide. Yes. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Okay, this is our last slide. So far we've been talking about the normal toolbox that we use in engineering techniques and the things that we use to modify the streets. And we've seen the limitations of this. A lot of the solutions, there's reasons to object to them. We might have some more tools coming to us in the way of technology that will give us more options to do what we're trying to accomplish. And we're already talking about speed enforcement cameras. I think you're probably aware that there's a bill in the state legislature right now to allow Malibu to use speed enforcement cameras. Now, let's extend that concept. Cameras, speed cameras, that communicate with the sheriff in real time. So if somebody's going 80 miles an hour signal automatically goes to the sheriff. It gets transmitted to the sheriffs in that area, and they could track the person down immediately. So that would be, real-time enforcement. Today's technology, so let me back up a little bit. Let me explain what V2X is. This is communications technology. V2V is vehicle-to-vehicle communication, where each car communicates, talks to the other car. And the most basic application of that is, hey, I'm a car here, don't hit me. The other car knows. It stays out of the way and at least is aware. There's V2I, vehicle-to-infrastructure communication, where on traffic signals, lampposts, that sort of thing, we can put transponders where the vehicles communicate to those transponders, which go to Caltrans and or the sheriff, and the transponders can send information back to the motorist, back to those cars. All kinds of information can be transmitted that way. We can notify you of hazards ahead. We can notify you of vehicles that you can't see because a truck is blocking your view. There's a whole lot of applications to that. In the long run, it's something emergency vehicles need to get through. They communicate to the cars, kind of like a siren, only higher tech. So, ambulance come and move over. There's a lot of things, applications we can use for this. And in the future, there's communication. In fact, there's a bill in the legislature right now to have cars equipped with something that if you're going over the speed limit, you're going to get a notification. Or an algorithm could say 5 miles or 10 miles over the speed limit. You're going to be notified. You're going over the speed limit. In the longer run, this could actually be done as we get closer and closer to automation, where your car physically just can't go over a certain speed. The governor of your car will be controlled by the speed limit, or again, an algorithm that says 5 miles or 10 miles over the speed limit. So there's some possibilities of doing what you want to do. And I know there's a lot of desire here to lower the speed limit. And we've talked about some of the things we run into with state law with that. But this could open up some opportunities. And by the way, I love the idea of lowering the speed limit. If we could just do that, and we don't have to spend all this money and all these things that we talked about, and that would slow people down, wow, that would be the easiest, fastest, and cheapest way of solving these problems, right? This could give us an opportunity to do that kind of thing with just the technology. And we could put the speed limit, maybe the speed limit through that area, Las Flores Department, is 35 miles an hour. Set the speed limit there where we want it to be. And that's what the speed you can go. Two things, the technology's not quite there yet. The biggest barrier is that every vehicle will have to be equipped with this transponder and a governor that's controllable. It's the kind of thing that the federal government is looking at mandating in the manufacture of vehicles. But it's going to offer some opportunity, another toolbox of things that we can use that we don't have today. So with that, Yu Ying, are you ready to? She's going to upload the results of what we showed so far, but now we'll open up for questions and comments. Yes, Scott. Oh, yes.
Promise her.
They know me well. That's the premise. They know me well. Mine's more of an overview. You do all the work that you have. Are you going to require a coastal development permit for your work from the Coastal Commission?
I don't know all of the guidelines for that. I know removing parking, I believe, would have to go through the Coastal Commission. We also have to, I mean, the city's local coastal plan would come into play with removal of parking, but I don't believe the other things would involve Coastal Commission. Rob, are
There are a lot of things in what you said. I believe that they would. Yeah, depends.
yeah, I mean, would roundabouts require coastal? I don't really know this myself.
But also there's traffic pattern flows from that the Coastal Commission state law that they have oversight over, and what I find is there are so many either lack of communication between agencies or conflicts, and I think someone from Coastal should have been here today, as you had indicated in your
They were
opening
invited,
statement.
and we have met with
They don't
them.
ever show up. That's
Yeah.
part of the problem. They just want to dictate from Ventura in San Francisco. I think that that's a problem. Parking, I don't agree at all with the parking on one side for access to residences for holiday reasons, everything. And you can't keep putting crosswalks because people who speed through here don't do it. As far as stakeholders are concerned, I respect that everybody in the state of California is a stakeholder, but I cannot go to the city of Los Angeles and complain, or even Beverly Hills, and complain about a roundabout where I almost get hit every time I go there because they say, well, you don't live here. So I'm actually a stakeholder of the state of California, and that's what your work does, and that's what the Coastal Commission does.
You can complain about state highways
No, I'm
in
telling
other
you
cities.
No, but I'm saying in general, a stakeholder, because you kept talking about everybody else and
Yeah.
stakeholders, but the focus has to be, this is our main street, okay? This is not like somewhere else. This is our main street, and the Coastal Commission designates it as a scenic corridor. You have jurisdiction out of all the motorhomes by the Getty Museum, where the state tore down all the homes there were 100-year leases, and now all the motorhomes, it's parked, no parking at night, but people can't even use the beaches because of all the motorhomes. And now there's a homemade helicopter there too. I think you guys have to take your side and deal with that if you want everyone that lives here and visits here to deal with your other issues.
Yep.
I have two more things and then I'll let you go. I think also the high parking fees deal with beaches and harbors on the cost of parking like at Zuma Beach, because everybody parks on the highway because they don't want to pay the fees for the Zuma Beach parking. That would alleviate the impacts on the highway. Okay, our city public works, luckily, they're wired, so I'm not concerned about them. Beaches and harbors, emergency. I am concerned about the evacuation route, and some of your bus stops have issues. As I'm dealing with you right now personally on improvements you're going to do at Zoomeris and PCH, one block east of Cane and Doom, and there's a bus stop. You're going to do ADA improvements. You got all your electrical. You're going to have to move my fire hydrant and all the stuff from my townhome complex. And so I'm going to need to see that. I'm going to talk to your fellow in right-of-way about that. But the bus stops are in weird places. You know, I mean, you got Cane and Doom Road, and you have to go everything past Cane and Doom Road if you want to go down to lesser lanes, because the backup just to get to Heathercliff in the summer, you don't even get any relief until you get to Zuma Beach. So I think some of your determination should be looked at again and modified. I can give the rest in writing to you.
Very good, thank you. And we have somebody taking notes, right? Or I mean, this is being recorded as well. So, okay, thank you. Yeah.
My question is actually directly related to lowering the speed limit on PCH, because all of the studies that I did suggested 35 miles an hour, and I know there's been a lot of question about, like, how can we possibly do this? And maybe someone from Caltrans or some other agency can explain to me why from Malibu to Seal Beach, which is basically PCH in Los Angeles County, it varies from 25 to 55 miles an hour. I mean, for example, just in Lincoln Boulevard, going through the marina in Venice, it's 35. And I guess maybe I don't understand what is the difference of PCH there versus PCH north of Topanga Canyon.
Okay.
So
State law requires that we do speed surveys and set the speed limit within about 5 miles an hour of what 85% of people are going.
Isn't that the problem, though? I mean, right now you're going to the 85th percentile of the guy that was going 110 miles an hour that killed 4 people.
Yeah, well,
so I mean, I get my point is that PCH has much lower speed limits
in different places
in
because
different
the
places,
speed
and
surveys are showing lower speed limits.
it'd be
Lower
interesting
speeds
to
there.
actually look into that and discover what what.
Yeah, you know, personally, it's not a law that I like, and we are looking at that law.
If
But-
possible, maybe you could post like the section of the vehicle or in Caltrans where that is. I'd like to just read it.
Lee, what's the section number on that?
Thank you.
Yeah, no, we would love to lower the speed
So-
limit, just put different signs up if we could, but
So,
because the speeds are varying
So-
in different contexts.
just to give you an idea, after the girls got killed last year, we were coming out. We did spot speed zone studies down in that area because we were being asked lower the speed limit. So we had to do the engineering traffic study. I think my staff told me they got 2 cars, middle of the morning, doing 80 miles an hour plus. And so when we take a survey of 100 vehicles, we plot those. It's 85th percentile. The vehicle code specs that we have to do an engineering traffic survey, that's the item. It's laid out. We go through it. We set it. If we do it improperly, the judges will throw it out, and they will throw out the speeding tickets, and then the guys at the back wind up with more issues because it falls under speed traps. You get into other things of law enforcement being called unreliable witnesses and other things like that. So what we do is we do the studies, we go through. I've told somebody in the back, I've been on stuff where we had 45-mile-an-hour speed limits. We've gone in on different sections of the highway. We studied it. Some areas went down to 40, others went up to 50. And that's just how the survey rolled. So the biggest thing is the surveys are in place. We're given some time for law enforcement efforts to work, and then we're going to come back in and take another look at it. We're going to survey it again. I did not want to do it last year. My fear was that folks would do that, and I figured you guys would all want to tar and feather me if I came in and said I got to raise it to 50 or 55 because of the study. So we're going to give it, we want to give it some time, and their efforts are having an effect. So we just got to give it some time.
That's the problem. I mean, talk to your state legislator, try to get this speed law changed. You know, we do have survey results. Yu Ying, you want to show us how people voted? By the way, we only got 12 respondents. Maybe people have paper surveys. Okay, we'll count this later.
Okay, if I was just told by Hans that if we had done something, if we could do something with the median, that would allow us to circumvent that 85 percentile, and we would be able to lower the speed limit. Is that possible?
Do something like what with the median?
Like install some sort of a median. I don't know what the requirements are, but I mean, you could have a median, for example, that's just corrugated concrete, bricks, whatever it is. Something that delineates a median. I don't know what the requirements for the median are, but if you had a median, Bob, do you know?
Yeah, so
if we had a median, is there a way to lower the speed limit and avoid that 85 percentile?
No, I mean, so
Okay.
the median itself should slow the cars down some, but it doesn't change the speed law.
Okay. A comment about pedestrian crosswalks. For example, there's one in the Palisades by the Palisades Bowl, and it's if a pedestrian pushes the button, goes to red, after a certain amount of time, it flashes. But people don't know what it really means. So if it's flashing, they stay there, and it backs up traffic. I think we need to also keep in mind that Malibu goes to great lengths to try to maintain our rural character, meaning we don't want lots of signage unless it's absolutely critical. We don't want lots of poles, signals, everything else. So please keep that in mind. Then, as I thought about your surveys, I'm sure you're aware of the Z traffic that comes through Malibu every morning and every afternoon during the workday, and which contributes to that, 40,000 plus vehicles every an hour or day. And I'm sure none of those people, or hardly any of them, are participating in this. All they want to do is they avoid the 101 and 405 interchange. They're just going because it's shorter to get to wherever they're going, whether that's downtown or Redondo Beach. And that is an important consideration for residents. This is, as this lovely lady said, it's our only access in and out. We don't want to slow it down unnecessarily. I think we all agree we'd like to see a slower speed limit, and how we accomplish that, it sounds like we almost can't unless we had action by the legislature, right? But we do want to slow things down. I love the roundabouts. I think that's a fantastic idea. People will have to learn how to use them, but I do think we need to prioritize, and I'd like to repeat this. We need to keep the width of our traffic lanes because it might slow things down, but you're going to have so many crashes. Buses, nope, it's not going to work. Maintain the existing parking. It's just critical for the people who live in those houses there. Otherwise, they might as well sell the house or business because they won't have any business and they won't be able to have visitors. And I do think we should keep all 4 lanes throughout the entire PCH. And in terms of bike lanes, what I'd suggest is you start bike lanes from Malibu Canyon west. I think everybody can agree to that. What kind of bike lanes, we can figure that out. But you've got width there. It's a great place to ride your bike. It's much more rural, and it's just doesn't have the danger that Eastern Malibu does. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Yu Ying, are we ready to show the survey results? Or oh, okay. So what do we have here? So on type 1, what's our? Can we go through these? You want to explain the results there? So what are we showing? So 42%. Wait a minute. So more people selected 1B than the others. So that was the 1B. There's actually not a lot of difference between the different ones. Okay, so people selected 4 lanes, 2-way protected bike lane, parking one side, sidewalk on the other side. And 1F was the lowest rank. Okay. And again, this may change once we get the paper surveys in. I don't know how many of you did it on paper. Yeah. Yeah, just don't vote twice, that's all. Yeah, do it. Yeah, do it all. Yeah. You can do it at home. Now, this survey is going to be up for a while. So you can go onto the website and do the survey anytime. So this is what kind of came out in front. 1C. Okay, 4 lanes, 2-way protected bike lane, a median, parking on the beach side, sidewalk on the other side. Okay. 1C. Okay, so let's go to the next one. Right. Yeah. Right. Right. Well, would you rather not see the results? Okay, so we don't need to see the results right now. Okay, are there more comments and questions? Scott?
On the survey, I think it could be extremely valuable if you could reach out to, I don't know if you have the contact information, like the previous charrette had 3 times as many people here probably, easily.
Oh yeah, we're going to send notice of this out.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's a way to get the message out even broader than that, just people that go to the City of Malibu website.
Well, we did
or-
have an offer from the county supervisor's office to notify people.
But I think, you know, if you were to get in the 1,000 people range or something like that, you might be able to get
That would be great if
results that are,
we could.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it's obviously just a means of trying to figure out how to get people to see it.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Yes.
I would like to invite all the Caltrans folks out to Malibu for this coming weekend. And I think you will learn all of the problems that we have. It's going to be horrendous.
Yeah. Like I said, I spend a lot of time out this way and I'm pretty aware. I've seen it. Yeah.
Parking is so close to the lane. I've seen people get out with their little kids and open the doors and they're in the lane.
Well,
just east of Carbon.
that's what these cross sections are about. Is it's a cross sectional element. We've got so much width to allocate, and
that needs to be done quickly.
Yeah, but our options are limited. What we can do, we're trying to give you as many options to pick from as possible. So. Yes.
Still very confused about, you know, the protected bike lane in front of homes with driveways that are all up.
Yeah,
and down.
I don't see us putting those in front of driveways.
Why is that a choice? Then why does most of these? Why is it a choice on 7 out of 8?
Good question.
Well,
yeah,
I know he said that he's not going to do it, but why then put that out there?
Well, I mean, some of these have parking outside of the protected bike lanes. That was an option. So the protected bike lanes be inside the parking.
Wait, there's going to be a protection, and therefore the car can't go through it if you're trying to get
No,
out.
you would park outside of it.
What about my garage? What about where I do park?
Okay. Yeah. These graphics are limited.
Protected bike lane.
Yeah, I think
there's no way to get out of my house.
Yeah.
And everybody else who lives along that, you know.
We won't do anything that prevents you from getting in and out. Yeah. Point taken. Point taken.
So why did you get? Okay.
If you're using your garage, you're saying. Okay. Okay. Go. Point taken. Yes. 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 Yeah. Well, thanks for telling us. Okay, pointing that out. Good. Yes.
I just wanted to say thank you very much. This was incredibly enlightening to hear the comprehensive presentation and everything that was shared from the experts to the residents. I feel like y'all have invested a lot in preparing this, and it shows, and we're very grateful. The breakthrough is definitely occurring. We're noticing the progress, and we're very encouraged. This is promising. It's miraculous, and we're confident that it's going to be saving even more lives and ultimately getting to that zero fatality. So thank y'all very, very much. We appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you for commenting. You've seen the challenges we're up against. So, I mean, a lot of what I heard tonight was we don't want to change things that would, we want to improve it, but the things that it would take to change, we don't want to do. So that's the challenge. Yep. Most of it, what? Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, well, that's the biggest problem area. That's the east end is where the biggest problems are. It's also where the greatest challenges are to make any changes. So we want to improve it. We want to do something because that area is the worst. But you've seen the limitations of what we can do. So, Marlon, did you want to say something? Yeah, we're just finishing up. As long as we have a couple, okay.
I just want to note, and I have all the same problems as they do, but okay, now can you hear me? I'm sorry. I just want to note that, like, when all those people turn into Nobu or make the left turn in one place, which is what you want to do when you put a median all across the highway, there's only going to be a few places where people can turn. So I don't understand. Do you really want the highway all clogged up as people wait to make their U-turns on these specific places?
We would leave turning pockets.
I understand. That's what I'm talking about. They don't stay in the pocket. They line up outside. And it's like if you look at what happens for going into Nobu or any place like that, even sometimes on Las Flores, when there was you made a longer, pocket. But even that sometimes gets filled up and it spills over into the left lane, And so now we're going to have more gridlock on the highway. I don't think that's what you want.
No.
I don't think so.
Okay, we're looking to make some improvements.
I know, but I'm
and
pointing out
everything that we propose has drawbacks. Doing nothing is not acceptable either.
And then if you narrow the lanes on top of that, right now they can't even get their cars in the lane to make those turns.
Well, yeah.
How for that?
Yeah. So we're looking for something we can do to make an improvement. And you've seen the challenges. I mean, pretty much everything that we've... Yeah. Yeah. Right. And doing nothing isn't acceptable, right? Okay. Yeah, so that's the challenge.
Doing nothing in certain locations may be the best alternative. I'm not saying it is, but it may be. And that does, and I did have a question though, I got to thinking. Let's say you had a bike lane from Tuna Canyon, start of Malibu, going west, and it ended someplace, maybe at Big Rock, because now you're going to change. If you change from one thing to another, is there any evidence or data that shows that causes undue problems?
Well, I think we're absolutely going to have to do what you suggested at first, is that different solutions for different stretches. That's absolutely what we're going to have to do. As far as data, I mean, I don't know of any research. I mean, this is really fine detail of planning, and I haven't seen research on these different things. And we'll definitely have to make sure the transitions are done right, so they're functional. So, yep. Okay, Marlon, you want to wrap up?
On. Thank you, and thank you, Ryan. I appreciate I think we as a team here appreciate what you've done to facilitate tonight. And I want to make this clear. All of everyone's feedbacks, comments, concerns, questions tonight, we very much appreciate it, and we're going to take that into serious consideration. One of the things I do want to also mention and reiterate is that we're not going to be blocking anyone's driveways. That's not going to happen. Yes, you're welcome. And there's a whole lot more that we're going to be having to do in terms of considerations based on the feedback that we received tonight. A lot of great feedback. Some of it contentious feedback. Some of it is supported by a lot of folks, right? Some of it is not. Some of it is in the middle. I think we're going to take all of that into consideration. And a lot of the things that was mentioned today does require an engineering level study, a traffic analysis for certain things. We do expect that, and we are planning to do that. Right now, as part of this kickoff for the second round of our engagement, is really to get the feedback from the community on some of the concepts that we have derived based on what you've provided so far. There's more to come. There's much more to come. We're going to have more virtual meetings. We're going to have more in-person meetings. And we're going to be following up with a project that's going to have multiple alternatives, right? So it's not going to be a situation where, oh, we're just going to choose one and move forward. We're going to have still multiple options based on your feedback. Once we refine it even more based on the feedback, we're going to have opportunities to really have that serious dialogue based on the things that you've provided and also based on the studies that we're going to be conducting with our engineering level analysis. So giving you a little preview about what's coming up next, but as you guys have already heard today, our survey is going to continue to be live on the website. We are encouraging folks to really, if you think about things after tonight that you want to provide comments on, please do. Check out the survey, fill it out. We're going to have more opportunities to discuss that as well. But for now, I just really want to appreciate everyone's time and effort in making this plan as good as it can be. And we're going to be back again, and we're going to have more opportunities for discussions and for input on what we expect to be a safer, more connected PCH in the future. So with that, I just want to thank everyone and hope everyone has a safe night, and we'll see you again soon.